Yes, it is, and the male anatomy too. These works are part of my series called the both and. I first drew the imagery in the center when I was recovering from a surgery to diagnose endometriosis. And at that time, I really did not see the male and female aspects of the image. And about 8 years ago, I was taking an intaglio printmaking class at the drawing studio in Tucson, Arizona. And Andrew Rush was the teacher of that class, and he saw it really as a masculine image, and I was so surprised. And once he pointed it out, of course I saw it. I mean, it was clearly there, and I went about making more of the images, but actually trying to do a somewhat realistic contour of a penis so that it would really be clear the combination of male and female power. I mean, also when I first drew the image, I like to work in negative capability, and I was not trying to draw anything. I was a repressed homosexual at that time, so I think, you know, there's something to be said about that, like my sexuality trying to come out subconsciously through the imagery I was making. So, yeah. Well, I guess I'll just say that I work in multiple media. In this room here, you see acrylic painting mixed with pure pigment painting, which is something I started doing about 5 years ago after a trip to Peru. I discovered just little packets of pure pigment at the Pisac market in Sacred Valley, and I brought some of those home and thought, you know, how can I use these? What am I going to do with them? And in the market, the woman was just adding water and, you know, using it a lot like watercolor. But because I'm not trained in the visual arts, I really just embrace accidents and like to experiment and see what I can create without trying to create anything. And then ultimately, I think when we're working in a space of negative capability or not irritably grasping after something, our subconscious comes up and our concerns. So we end up with images that are very queer, like this and like me. I started working in this installation medium, I think about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. There was a group show in Tucson, Arizona called Fem Arts, all women artists and all installation art. And I really wanted to be a part of that show, so I thought, what am I going to make? And the first thing I made was called Don't Shoot. And the Seinfeld warehouse where they held the exhibition had, I think, 25-foot ceilings. So I had a space filled with garlands, just from ceiling to floor, and I tied guns into the garlands. So, I don't know if you can see, or I really care about gun violence in this country, and all over the world really, and I wish that we didn't harm each other so violently with these weapons. I wish they weren't so easy to get a hold of and use accidentally or maliciously. So I decided to literally tie my concerns about gun violence and this installation medium together. And then I really just grew to love working with the fabrics. They're composed of all kinds of tape, metal tape, duct tape, plastic packing tape. I make ribbons of it, and then everything is hand cut. So I have 3 pairs of scissors, and I have different cutting techniques that I use to get you know, volume or to get movement. And so far, I've probably cut about a mile's worth of this stuff.
Wow.
There's recycled clothing and some of my favorite items that, you know, you just can't wear anymore, but you can't bear to get rid of because you love them. And then I, you know, start making one, and then I see what I need. So then I inevitably, like, particularly source something to add. Like I might need a color or a type of fabric or a type of material. But usually I just have, you know, a collection of little, almost like yarn balls, and I just mix and match those and put them together, sort of like a palette. I have bags of them sort of like laid out in a rainbow, and I just start seeing, you know, what works together. Let's see. So I was talking about the pure pigments from Peru. This piece I made towards the end of the year, where I just sort of let myself really go free. I mean, I knew that I wanted to make things in the bulk and series. I knew that I wanted to make some installations. I knew that I wanted to make things in my Cloud Show Utopia series, and I'll talk about that in a second, but in the process of that, I thought, wow, these are really special and interesting, and I got a lot of positive feedback from, you know, friends that would come by and visit, and so I started pushing these to be a work in themselves as opposed to the pigment being a background for something else. So what you're seeing on this canvas is just pure powdered pigment. I have it in little plastic bags, and I might start with a substrate wet or dry and just sprinkle a little bit on. And if I open the garage door, I start with them on the floor and just cover the whole garage in a tarp because the pigment is very powerful and it packs a huge punch. So just like the tiniest grain that you can't even see will just explode in color once water or something is added. So I just layer and layer and layer with water and powder and spray fixative. And the layers of fixative in between is how you get the depth, so it doesn't look like it's all just sitting on this surface. And I mentioned my Cloud Show Utopia series. This was in this was in an article today, Top 10 Things to Do in Houston. Thanks. This is called Don't Shoot 2. That's Don't Shoot 1. They actually can be seen side by side. They kind of flow into each other, but I thought they looked better on the walls here, separated. But these pieces are called Ghosting Guns, and if you look up close, you can see that there's little contours of invisible guns. Just again, attempting to recontextualize something that's so violent and sad and painful and ugly, and it's my hope that maybe thinking about difficult topics and concerns in a lighthearted environment can maybe help people feel better, more lighthearted, maybe alter your opinion or just get someone to think. I mean, ultimately, I just want you all to like feel good when you're in here and have a whimsical, lighthearted experience, because the world is heavy and difficult and challenging. It's full of bigotry and hatred and evil, and I try to counter that with lightheartedness and joy. These two pieces in the front, this one is called Pulse. So I feel it as an elegy to all the lives that were lost, the Pulse nightclub. And this little one is called Vigil, and I had started making it around the time that occurred, and I didn't intend it to be a vigil, but it just really spoke to me that that's what it ought to be. And I guess I want to call them an elegy, which is usually something you call a poem that you write for someone who's been lost. Because of my background, as I said, I'm not trained as an artist. I have a bachelor's in English from UC Berkeley and a MFA in poetry from St. Mary's College of California. But I have very arduously been pursuing visual arts since I graduated several years ago. I guess I will just read you a couple things that I pulled offline, and then I'll close with a few poems, unless anybody has any questions, because yes.
Did you talk about your collaboration?
Yes, thank you. So this is the neon and the mixed media painting on pine. I did this work together with an artist from Phoenix, Joseph Mark Hansen. He and I shared a lobby in a show in Phoenix called Artel's Show. A dear friend, Tara Sharp, envisioned this wonderful art experience where artists were invited to come to a hotel in Phoenix and take over rooms or take over the lobby, or there was puppet shows, performances, and dance. And Joe and I shared the front lobby of the hotel the first year that I did the show. And we just became friends, and we really loved how the garlands looked with the neon light around it, and we decided we wanted to collaborate, and this is what we came up with. He had sort of a boneyard of pieces, old neon pieces that he hadn't been using, and we just looked through that and we picked some shapes, and we decided on these four, and we sort of arranged them as they would be on a substrate, and we redesigned some of them. We actually redesigned this so that it looks like a V and an H, so that's our signature there in the bottom corner. And we just, back and forth between Phoenix and Tucson, we pulled this together, and it's called The Last Secret Cloud. Thank you. I guess I'll just read one little thing from my artist statement that I made for the show, and if any of you want to read that in full, you can check out my website, ValentinaGrenier.com. It's also up on Redpub, so if anyone wants to check out Houston's Redpub art magazine, you can find it on there as well. But I will just say this. These paintings, installations, and encaustics convey a colorful world seemingly untouched by the upheavals of ruin, bigotry, violence, and fear, but are in fact a penetrating and personal view of this moment in our American life. They assert that even at this time, the ideals of tenderness and compassion serve as the foundation of a prosperous society. So, is there any more curiosities or questions? I guess I'll just read you a few poems and we'll be done with it. But I'm happy to talk more after too, if you want. So these poems, I just sort of picked some favorites. Some of them are 10 years old and some of them are 6 months old. I've got 4 here. Here, Pilgrim, Beloved, Come fish, friend, here by this wall of sand. You and I, beloved, formless form, house of roses, garden, soul. Bring to this sea your troubles. You, come to know. Asterisk. Are we all transparent to others in ways we are not to ourselves? Have we all been witness or a party to physical violence, verbal violence, emotional violence? Do we all have the death instinct? Do we all love? Do we all need? Rhymes with sleep, rhymes with read, rhymes with eat, rhymes with dream. We all use money. Are we warlike? We all need to dance, asterisk, sing, asterisk, laugh. We all come from women, asterisk, and men, the milk and seed of chaos and peace. We all must be loved. Are we all queer? Does it start with, I hate everything, or hate everyone, hate myself? When has there not been war? Do we all have friends? Do we all manipulate? Do we all trade? Have we all been agent or subject of hate? Have we all been a nurse or host to illness? Do we all of us people, respect life, asterisk, this planet, its flora and fauna? This poem is untitled. I called botany as much about the hummingbird's love as a human equivalent. Poor history, leaving altered notions through tanning. Intoxication, specifically ancient arts headed toward the gravitational pull, ushered beauty into the moment. Attraction, by token, had a handful of chemicals. Pleasure, money, a wormhole that tubers, docile sheep, and strangers mark. Marvelous imagination of aims shed some pardon, history, placation, perfecting how to define our abilities, or so we are told. Making language alchemist, transforming sunlight into accomplished beings to manufacture, nailing the astonishing trick, math's poison and delight, rose and sheep power dreams. In the brains, trouble plants to devise divisive recipes. Deadly poisons confound pedicures. Stirring in gratifying fact, and mobility can't move, locomote, prey on our tangled sheep. I have two more. An oh well star. Shallow fervor releases me from freedom. Subject to the hate of this world, bring on fever. Wallow, sweat, swallow in my pit of mud. Screech a pitch to shatter the gods. Shards of cracked earth tumble down a crest. Birth of glass to refine my love to dust. Later day lovers will discover a welt above my heart. How can I feed a swell of hands over sand rolling into a ball? My fervent pitch to breach your eyes. Synesthesia, my garments bellow as a sail forced to the windroad. Baste me with salve, blast me into a gush of honey. Wake me before my bones become hollow. Last one. Taking the lady's hand and passing her back her bag. Do you know how I know that I love you? The breath aggressing from her left nostril echoes off her eardrum and sounds like wind. Because earlier today I thought how I would be if you died. That's love, the death fantasy. Or the rescue fantasy, signifies fornication, no desire to save, to be depended upon. Come, rushing the assailant faster than words can pass from the mouth of your dear victim. No, catching the victim before she's hit the ground, holding her tight to your chest, hovering the both of you by the strength of your right arm and arresting her against the ground. Leaping for the assailant, hugging him around the ankles, sending him face smashing to pavement. Kneeling into his back, your arm around his neck, shouting, "If you died now today." Why is it that the rescue fantasy comes when you want to screw, and the death fantasy comes with love? The rescue fantasy is so much better, and it's not always followed up by the death fantasy. Remember what it was like? Or, do you know how I know that I love you? Because earlier today I thought how I would be if you died, be if you died now today. Passing her back her own hand here. More. Moto poesis breaks. Shards chatter. Thank you.